Hello and welcome back to everyone that's tuned in to the American Ultra Stock channel. Thank you so much for being with us. Today we're doing a review, and again, my apologies sincerely since it was my fault on the end that we didn't do a preview. At the end of the day, it is Camp Cupcake, and we're doing a review right here of a match. The USMNT was there, whether we like it or not. It's not an official camp, so I see some people that are still new to the sport wondering why wasn't Pulisic there. It's not an official FIFA day, so this is why we have Camp Cupcake. So, Braden, we won 3-1 against Venezuela. Take that as you will. Your initial thoughts and immediate takeaway from that match. That was actually pretty entertaining.
Yeah, I thought it was a solid match all around. There was a lot of nice moments in there. I mean, obviously the level of the players, both for our boys and from Venezuela's perspective, aren't up to the standard that you would expect from an international match. Of course, it's neither team bringing their A team. It's just kind of a hodgepodge of players selected in to have basically a preseason with the national team manager. But all things considered, I think there were some encouraging passages. I think definitely one key takeaway that I have that isn't really related to any of the players in particular is just how much better and more cohesive we looked in this camp than in the past couple Camp Cupcakes. And I think that's basically just down to Poch as a manager. Obviously, a huge upgrade over Berhalter. Yeah, there's some differences in the players that were called up. I mean, it seems like it's a completely new roster every time because, MLS performances are so unreliable. Some players move to Europe and whatever, but regardless of who's there, I think this roster and this group looks a lot more connected than in the past, especially if you look at last year when we somehow lost to Slovenia. That was kind of a disaster, and this was just a lot better. It was a shame we had to concede at the end, but overall, I mean, I think there's not much to take away, obviously, but it was an entertaining match at least.
Absolutely. I also looked at the coaching side as perhaps the most important one to really evaluate in this camp because even though we don't have the players, we can look at the shape and it's the same manager. So at least we have that. And I do agree with you. I think we were a lot more cohesive on the ball, the patterns of play. I think that everyone seemed to know their role a little bit more. And you mentioned last year's camp. And then on that day, it was the debut, and so far it will be the only match that Esmir Baraktarovic ever played for the USMNT. And he was one of the young ones, which I will say props to Podge for. It was a bit of a mixed roster, but a lot of youngsters got the chance to start, which I'm really happy about. And now we're going to dive into the player ratings and evaluate all of them. We're going to start with Patrick Schulte. Some may say needs a shout to be the number one goalkeeper. I'm not sure about that, but he's getting call-ups. He's having good performances. Your thoughts on his match in 1 through 10? How would you grade him?
Yeah, this one's short. He didn't really have anything to do. The goal wasn't his fault. The striker who came, I don't actually know if he was a striker, to be honest, but the guy who scored for Valencia, he came off the bench, was unmarked on the corner. It's not his fault. That's more on a couple other players we'll get into. But I'm just going to give Schulte a 5. He didn't make any good saves, nor did he need to.
Yeah, I agree with you. Standard 5, really. Distribution, there's not much to evaluate here. I mean, the sample, it's not that good of an opposition, and what was thrown at him was basically non-existent too. So we'll shift right now to the right back spot, everybody's favorite, Shaq Moore, the star of the 2022 World Cup. He got a yellow card. Things were not that lively on that side of the pitch. What do you think?
Honestly, I think one of Venezuela's only bright players, Goalkeeper Mendoza, was doing pretty well against Shackmore on that side. 1P as well for them. I think a lot of their threat's kind of a stretch because they didn't really threaten too much, but a lot of at least the attacks that they had were coming down, I guess their left hand side, our right hand side. Shackmore, he got cooked a couple of times, got the yellow card, lost a lot of duels. And ultimately in the attack as well, I think a spark was just missing. It's Shaq Moore. I mean, what do you expect? I'm just going to give him, I guess, a 4. I mean, who knows? That's probably his best ever USMNT rating, to be honest.
Yeah, when I said not that lively, I meant in terms for us. I mean, for them it was. That's where they got to have most of their opportunities coming from and more active ball possession and everything. I actually give him a 3. I feel like he was so unsure when he was going for a duel. And I mean, this is a guy that played at a World Cup. He should be playing better than this at this level even. So I'll have to give him a 3 out of 10. No shade, really. I think everybody knows that's what you get with them. And now Campbell got to play as a starting center back right next to Miles Robinson. I don't know if, correct me if I'm wrong, that may be his first debut for a senior USMNT, even though it's not the main one. Thoughts on his performance?
Yeah, I think he was okay. Mainly in the air, I think it is where he stood out, made a couple wins, but overall, it wasn't the most encouraging debut at all. I mean, I think we knew what to expect. We've seen George Campbell several times in the past. He was part of the U23 cycle before the Olympics, ultimately didn't make the final roster, but I mean, he's been playing for CF Montreal, in and out starter for them, and ultimately, I'm just going to give him I think a five here. I mean, I will say props to Poch for actually starting him because since Jalen Neal did have to leave camp, he is the only somewhat young center back left. So I'm glad he got the start. I'm glad he got the opportunity. I just wish maybe he was a little bit better. But again, there wasn't much of attack, so he didn't really have too many chances to show what he's about. But I'm just gonna give him a five.
Yeah, I'll give him a 4. I don't know if I'm being harsh right here with these ratings, perhaps 1 point less, but I don't know. I again, props to Poch for starting him. I think that's I like the vision of starting the youngsters, but I don't know. I just don't think he was too assured on the ball when he had it, and sometimes it would take too long to just give a sideways pass, which we knew was going to happen. So I'll give him a 4. I don't know if that's harsh or not, but props to him for getting that start. That's something no one can take away from him. And next to him, we had the most experienced head on his shoulders, Miles Robinson. He seems to be inevitable. He's in every camp because he stayed in MLS. Did he look out of place? And as a player that's above this level, Braden, how would you grade his match?
I mean, I don't think he looks like a player who's above the level, really. He was okay. His passing was pretty concise, albeit he didn't really take many risks. It was mainly just side to side. Won his duels for the most part. He was a threat on corners, I will say. Jack McGlynn was whipping them in, and there was two opportunities that Miles Robinson broke free, got a good head on the ball, and it almost ended up being a goal. A couple nice saves from the keeper. But on the other hand, when Venezuela had a corner, their man went unmarked. Miles Robinson and Shaq Moore were both in the area. I'm going to have to dock him a point because of that. I gave Campbell a 5. I think it's fair to give Miles a 5.5 because of that. I think you did better than Campbell, but overall, it was nothing spectacular.
Yeah, I'll have to again. I had a 4 for him because one of those deliveries was so good. He really should have scored. I know that he got good contact. It was a nice save by the keeper in one of them, but he really should have scored, in my opinion. And again, the usual suspects when things go wrong for the USMNT at this level. I'm expecting a lot more, especially if he's going to be in contention to be in the senior side, which seems to be the case. I mean, it remains to be seen. But if he's in that, that shouldn't be happening with a guy like that. He should be the leader here and assert himself in this level. I'll give him a 4. And moving on to the left back spot, we had Maximilian Arfston. I don't believe I'm mispronouncing. He got to have the nod there. Nice to see another guy starting his first USMNT camp. And thoughts on his performance?
Yeah, it was nice to see Arston starting there because obviously John Tolkien had to leave because he's making the transfer to Holstein Kiel in the Bundesliga. We wish him best of luck there. Ultimately, better for his career for that to happen than stay here in a meaningless camp. But it opened the opportunity for Max Arston, who is one of the players that I think has flown under the radar in MLS this season. Still just 23. He was technically eligible for the Olympics. Very, very promising player from the left back position, had a great season, and he showed that in this game. Even when things weren't necessarily coming off for him, at times he still was trying things, and that's what I like to see. He was pretty solid defensively as well, had a couple nice touches, was always dribbling at defenders, which you like to see from a new player. The confidence was certainly there, and again, on the defensive side, that's his job. There was no threat for them coming down his side, so I'm going to give him a 6.5. I think he was pretty solid.
Yeah, I was going to say I was really impressed because I'm not the biggest avid watcher of MLS. I know that he's been doing well for the crew, but also he was going up against Añor, who's a good player. I think that he kept things quiet on that side. Very, very good defensively, and again, the confidence to go forward. I don't know if he's ever going to get another call up here, but he did himself justice. Props to him. Really good match. I'll give him 6.5. Sounds about right. I'll go with the same. Really, really happy that he got the start. Nice to see new faces. I don't know how old is he. If he's 23 since he was eligible. So yeah, nice. Maybe you want to watch her in the future. And then now we had Benjamin Kramaski right here. Very hyped by a lot of people. I think it has kind of eased down, which I think is good for him. And he got to start. And nice to see he's been involved in every single aspect of the USYNT. And now he got to start this match for Camp Cupcake, I think. Do you think that he did enough maybe to gather attention from clubs abroad? I think that's the biggest question. I don't know if they'll look at this game, but regardless, it is a senior cap.
I mean, even if he did, I don't think he'd make the move because, let's face it, why would you want to leave playing with Messi? I mean, it's the opportunity of a lifetime. And I think, honestly, that's one of the few situations in MLS that it actually could be beneficial to stay because you're getting to play with so many incredibly talented players. And even Mascherano as a coach also played in the midfield at times, so you can help him. Now, unfortunately, I don't think Kramaski was that great today. I think he showed why he probably should have been with the U20s this camp. I mean, it is nice to see the youth being played, and I do commend Poch for that, for giving him the opportunity, same as I said for Campbell. But ultimately, it was just foreign. I would have rather seen Emeka Eneli start just because he is more of a traditional six in the midfield, especially when you have Jack McGlynn there. The one drawback to McGlynn is that you need some defense in there with him because he's not going to do too much of that. Kramaski, he's a workhorse for sure. He runs everywhere, but he never ends up getting the ball. He looks like more of a rugby player, which I guess makes sense considering that's what his dad's background was. But ultimately, I just don't think he really got it done. I'm going to give him a 4.5.
All right, that's fair. I'll give him a 5 actually because from what I expect from him, I was actually happy with the game. Nothing brilliant, but I think very solid with the effort, which I think is really important. I think he has a lot of limitations in his game, and yeah, maybe he needs to stay. I've said it before. I don't know if he will ever make the move to Europe. That may be the case, but props to him for the match. I thought he did all right, and he'll definitely improve this year. So. Moving on right here, and also this makes it harder for him. He was put in contrast with the star of the show today, and everybody was expecting this. Jack McGlynn, I think he is a level above. He did look a level above, as we know. Maybe should have gotten a move during the summer. Maybe now in January, a lot of clubs need stopgap signings that also have a future potential. He was the star. What do you think, Braden? How would you grade his match?
Well, I had to rep my Philadelphia Union boy, Jack McGlynn. Absolute masterclass from him in every aspect. He did start the game a little bit shaky, had a misplaced pass here and there, but overall just fantastic. 97% passing accuracy, touched the ball the most times of anyone on the field. 20 passes into the final third, always those progressive passes, breaking lines, which is so special. His long balls were fantastic as well, 7 of 8. Of course, absolute screamer that he had, which was actually the longest USMNT goal in over 2.5 years. Really, really special hit from him. He almost had a second as well in the second half. That was from a pretty similar spot. Also got the assist for the third goal to Miljevic. It was a masterclass, to be honest, from McGlynn. It was everything that we expected from him, everything we hoped to see, and I think he's the one player who can truly walk out of this game who clearly raised his stock and is one to watch for the future, that Poch can keep his eyes on and at least monitor his progress, because the midfield is a very stacked area for the U.S., so he has a lot of competition. But if he can just continue to up his game, and hopefully he does get the transfer to Europe this window. We talked about when we went over the roster initially, there was a lot of Philadelphia Union players, both in this camp and the U21, that were not released. He was the only one from the club. That means he's probably on the way out. We can hope, and if so, if he gets the right move to Europe, he could end up in contention for the main USMNT in a couple of years, and really that's what this camp was about. So I think he was the perfect example of why this camp even still exists, to be honest.
Yeah, I was going to say I'll give him a 9 out of 10. Maybe that's too high, but he did exactly what I was expecting. Well, not expecting, because scoring a screamer like that, obviously he has that in his locker, but it's not something you can hold the guy, hold it against him if he doesn't do it. But a really, really brilliant match. I think it raises his stock with the coaching staff, also his stock for a transfer perhaps. And I will say, I said it in the past that he does have a chance, because guys like Buzio, don't want to make it about Buzio, but put him side to side with McGlynn, player for player, talent-wise. I think if McGlynn gets 6 months of tactical coaching in Europe, he would be ahead of him. I really do. I think that he's a better player, more gifted, and breaking the lines. And he made the people around him look a lot better than they are. So I think also props to him for that. Perfect match from him. We're going to go to the right-hand side. We had Caden Clark. Nice to see him being involved with the setup again. Again, he was with Shaq Moore on that side, so things were a little bit difficult to come off and combine the overlap. It looked a little bit shaky at times, but thoughts on his match and ultimately his rating?
Yeah, I don't think I gave a rating for McGlynn. I was going to do a 9, same as you. For Caden Clark, you say he was on the same side as Shaq Moore, which did make it, I guess, a little bit difficult in terms of combination, but Kramaski showed for him, Miljevic showed for him, McGlynn showed for him. He did actually get the assist on McGlynn's goal, played it back to him, although And let's be honest, he didn't really play too much of a part in the goal, but still nice for the stat sheet. He'll definitely want to say in the future he has a USMNT assist, no matter how his career ends up. And the fact that he's only 21, and I think he showed a lot of nice moments. I think he was one of definitely the brightest in terms of attackers. So I'm going to give him a 7. I think he was very solid. He had a lot of nice flicks, same as Arston, really. Even when it didn't come off, and it did come off more times than it didn't, but even when it didn't work out, you could see the intention there, and you could see the quality that he has, that maybe if he has a couple better players around him, it could look a little bit better. But overall, I'm very happy with what I saw from Caden Clark. And once again, props to Poch for calling him up despite only a very recent run of form with Montreal. And yeah.
Yeah, I'm really happy to see him there. And I always forget when you were mentioning how young this guy is. For whatever reason, I always have in mind that he's 24 or something. 21 is still so young. And yeah, he was bright. Wasn't very lucky at times. Maybe things could have come out. It just comes down to luck sometimes. I think the intention was there. And yeah, I'll give him a 7. I think it was very lively with what he could do and combine on that side. So I'll give him that. Now, moving on right here to the number 10 position. Maybe a surprise face for a lot of people. They probably don't know him. Miljevic, the Argentinian American, he scored a goal. And thoughts on his match?
Well, I have to admit, I was not happy when he scored because I think he's one of the only players that has made me actively root against the U.S. The call-up's not deserved in the slightest. I mean, we know why he's been called up. It's just because the connection he has to Argentina, Newell's Old Boys, Poch's boyhood club. That's why we know about his discipline concerns as well. It's just disappointing, honestly, to see him starting in this position over Diego Luna, who is probably, I mean, him and McGlynn are the top 2 prospects here by far. And the fact that Luna's not even starting because of this guy, it's honestly a disgrace. And I mean, you saw it in the second minute of the match. They win a penalty, well done by Ajimong. We'll get to him later to hold it up. And McGlynn was gonna take it, but Miljevic stole it from him. And then I won't even say he shot it because he didn't. He passed it straight to the keeper. It was, I guess, if you want to count it towards his pass accuracy, maybe that's something that you can give him. But one of the worst penalties I've seen in a while. He got the assist to Ajimong, where basically he kind of fell over. The ball ricocheted off his shin, and it went through. Good solo goal by Ajimong there. So he gets lucky there. I will say the goal that he had, it was very nicely taken. Gets the ball in space, runs, plays McGlynn, gets the nice little dinked ball in back from him. Very well taken finish. I will give him props for that. That does raise his rating significantly. But overall, I mean, it's a waste of a call-up, really, to be honest. I mean, that's nothing else we can say about it. I'm just going to give him, I think, all around, a lot of chaos, and it kind of just ends up back at like a 6.5.
I'll give him a 5. Honestly, I can't give him any higher. Even the goal, it was really nice, but I mean, you're a professional player. You get that good of a ball back to you, have to score with that amount of space. I'll give him a 5. I thought, again, maybe I'm being harsh and I'm adding up on the score right here the fact that Luna didn't play because of him, which is absolutely atrocious. But yeah, I'll give him a 5. I just thought overall the penalty was ridiculous. I mean, that's the stuff that if Poch subbed him out on the very next play, I wouldn't be mad. I mean, it was ridiculous. Anyways, we had Brian Gutierrez, a face that has been very absent. Well, not only up to him, also his club, but he got released this time around. He started on the left flank. Thoughts on his match and his rating?
Well, unfortunately for him, I think he was a little absent in this game as well. Another player who Luna probably should have started over, although I'll give Poch a little bit of a pass here because Gutierrez is as well 21 years old. He's still so young. Like you said, I mean, it was pretty disappointing to see him not as involved in the Olympics process last year. And I would have liked to see more from him here. I'm going to give him a 5.5. I just think he was pretty anonymous, so much so that the left back on his side, Max Arston, was doing a lot more even in the attack than he was. It was just a little disappointing, and it kind of has me thinking, what if Caden Clark and Arston were on the same side for a full match? That would have been nice to see. I know Gutierrez is capable of a lot more. We've seen him with the Chicago Fire. He's often one of the only bright spots there. He's still so young, has a lot of potential. This just, I don't think, was his day. Ultimately, we have to judge based on the performance, so 5.5.
Yeah, I'll give him a little less, 5. I was expecting a little bit more. Even Caden Clark, when things didn't come out for him, you could see the intention, you could see the quality there. And I think that Gutierrez was very quiet very quiet, really. And for a guy with not that there is that much noise, but I expected a little bit more. And like you said, Arfston was the shining light on that left hand side, which was had a lot of quality. But Gutierrez, I'll give him a 5. I thought he could have done a lot better. And then we have Agemang starting at striker. Again, props to Poch for calling him up from Charlotte. Really nice for him to get the goal as well. I thought it was a really nice solo goal for him. So props to him for that. Thoughts on his rating?
Yeah, I mean, listen, there's, I think, 4 players here that were new names to the USMNT community, but truly earned their spots due to performances in MLS. Youngish players. It was Ajimang, it was Arfston, it was Emeka Nelly, and Matt Fries. The 2 that played today impressed me a lot. I mean, at least the 2 that started. And Nelly, hopefully we see him start next game. Fries, hopefully we see him start next game as well. But it's just a testament to why, yeah, there are some hidden talents in MLS, at least in the 24, 25, 26 age range. Not these older guys like Shaq Moore, Miles Robinson, players like that. But Ajimang, it's funny. If you look at his stats, it'd be like, oh, he was anonymous. He completed 2 passes the whole game. But, I mean, he was very, very active. His hold-up play was incredible. Obviously won the penalty because of it. It's just a shame that it ultimately went to nothing. Maybe even he should have taken the penalty. I don't think that would have been undeserved at all. Very nice solo goal as well that he took, just getting by the defender, finishing. A little bit fortunate on the finish that it went through the keeper's legs, but he did the hard work and got the reward. Very nice for him. I mean, if you know his story, it's such a deserving moment. And overall, throughout the match, I thought his hold-up play in general was fantastic. He just offers something different to most everyone else. He's kind of like Daryl Dike in a way, where he's just so much of a physical presence. He's so strong at 6'4", even with a little bit of pace. You're not going to body him off the ball. And even on the corners as well, he was getting hugged every single time, like a full-on hug, like a bear would do. It was crazy. I don't know how the ref didn't call it, but every time he ended up on the ground, so they just couldn't handle his physicality. It was unique. It was very exciting to watch, honestly. So I'm going to give Agshimong a 7.5.
I'll give him an 8, actually. I thought he did really well. I mean, we've seen a lot of guys get thrown even in these types of camps and not do much at the striking position. Yeah, he had a lot more service than we've had in the past in these camps, but he did himself proud. I think he should have taken the penalty, to be honest, and really nice goal that he got rewarded. It went through the keeper's legs, but I don't think it was really down. Luck at the end of the day, but he carved his own luck at that point. A really nice run. And combining, even for a guy being that physical, he held up the ball really well. The passing was on point as well. So yeah, I'll give him an 8. I thought that's deserved. Now moving on right here to the subs, where I will be honest, I expected to see some subs at the end of the match, at halfway through the match at halftime, but we didn't see them, so we can group them all together. Anelli, White, Daewin Jones, and Diego Luna. Walker Zimmerman came on when it was basically done already. Thoughts on them? Anything that stood out for you?
Yeah, to be honest, from the subs, I'm not even going to give them official match ratings, just point out a few things. Daewon Jones, I thought he was pretty solid in his 25 minutes. He had very solid defensive performance, even took over the Arfston role of attacking on the left-hand side. He got very high at times, which was nice to see. Emeka Nelly, his passing was solid, brought a stable presence, defensive presence to the midfield, which was definitely needed to see the game out when we were already up so much at the end of the match. Brian White didn't really do too much. He did get one pretty solid chance at the end where you'd think he probably would have scored, seeing as he is the American who's led the MLS in goals the past 2 seasons, but unfortunately it didn't come off for him. Would have been a cool moment to see. Ultimately, I guess just not his day. Luna, obviously, I mean, we know what to expect from Luna. Some nice creative chances that he created there. Some touches as well, good passes, overall what you would expect from Luna. I do agree. I wish he had come on at halftime. Hopefully he starts the next match because we need to see more of him than just this. And then Zimmerman, you can't even mention. I will say Indiana Vasilov as well, that you forgot. He came on at the 73rd minute. He actually created a couple of chances. He's the one who played the through ball to Brian White for that chance. Had another one as well. I don't think he's really that great of a player, to be honest, but I think in terms of his display, he did himself proud a little bit.
Yeah, I'm sorry to Vasilev. I actually thought he was more lively than Brian Gutierrez in the little time that he got, well, more involved in significant plays. And I will say, Anelli was better than Kremaski for me on the passing. Also, what to cover, not just run around kind of like headless. So I'm props to those guys. And yeah, Luna has to play more. I really want him to start next match. So let us know in the comments below what you think. Thoughts on this game. Thoughts on the decision to bench Luna. Next match, will you guys tune in and watch? Let us know. We'll make sure to respond to you guys. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, share with your friends, and we'll see you next time.